Alright, so what is an offering and what is dilution? The events leading up to an offering can usually tend to be a bit complicated and vary depending on the company and their management. So today we're going to look at the general idea of how the process of an offering works and how it involves dilution. But before we get into the process, let's get you familiarized with some terminology. First and foremost, what does it mean when a company has an offering? Well, for a company to be listed on a market exchange, they have to have an IPO, which is also known as an initial public offering, where they have a set number of initial shares, keyword being initial, that are made available to trade for the public. From there, the company's management and public interest helps determine the price action for the security. And that is where the offerings come in. There are essentially three types of offerings which a company can exercise, and those include the IPO, a subsequent or follow-on offering, and a secondary offering. The purpose of the offerings are to raise capital, but the difference between them is the beneficiary of the money raised. In the IPO and on a follow-on offering, the company benefits from the money raised, but in a secondary offering, the company does not. Offerings are supposed to allow the company to improve by using the money to do whatever management deems necessary. The subsequent offering is a follow-up to the IPO that provides money to fund something such as an acquisition or to pay off some debts from loans. By doing this, they make more shares available to the public for trading, meaning they sell more shares, thus making money. This is where the problem arises for many shareholders. If we were to visualize the total shares as a pie, by selling more shares to the public, the company would increase the total amount of shares they have, making each share before the offering a lesser amount of a whole pie. During a secondary offering, the company does not benefit from the sale of the shares. This is because no new shares are actually being created. Instead, the shares are being sold from pre-existing shareholders like institutions or insiders, and the proceeds go to them. For example, let's say that company OUT recently IPO'd and there are 8 shares available to trade. To prevent some confusion, we won't set a price for the shares. If we were to visualize the total amount of shares as a pie, each shareholder would have a slice of the pie. In this example, every color represents a different shareholder. We can see that whoever is represented by gray owns twice as many shares as everyone else and has 1/4 of the total float. In a real-world situation, that may be a part of the float owned by insiders or institutional investors, but for now let's say it's an eager individual. Each of these individuals purchased their shares after the IPO, so their shares are going to be represented by an A. The company then goes through many circumstances, good and bad, and management decides to use a follow-on offering to raise money. The follow-on offering is for another 8 shares, which with the pre-existing shares brings the total shares to 16. For our example, we will say that no pre-existing shareholder chose to buy more shares and every new share was bought by a new investor. If we take a look at the new pie chart, every share bought after the follow-on offering is represented by B. From here we can see that everyone now owns a lesser amount of the whole pie. Every individual who owned 1/8 of the shares now owns 1/16, and the biggest owner who owned 1/4 of the shares now owns 1/8. The process of increasing the amount of shares available to the public is what is referred to as dilution, since it is potentially lessening the value of the shares. Many individuals see the whole idea of a follow-on offering and dilution as a bad thing. That is why after a company announces they have chosen to go through with one, the price drops significantly. But if executed correctly, the company could actually increase their value. The whole purpose of the action is to raise money to be able to do more things. With that being said, in many cases, the road to recovery after a follow-on offering tends to be very rocky and slow.
We realize how confusing and stressful it can be to take your first steps, so we've made it our mission to simplify the process. This is why we are building a community where you can interact with other individuals who are working to better themselves. Check out the investing and trading section of our forums on our website and create a profile. Whether you want to learn, discuss, or just socialize with others like-minded individuals, join the Outlier community and become an outlier. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, don't hesitate to hit us up on any of our social media links below.